It's said everyone has a story. China has almost 1.4 billion of them, from the mega cities to the vast countryside, from the ancient to the ultra-modern. It's our job to bring these stories to you, direct from one of the most rapidly changing nations on the planet. I'm Joey Catanzaro, and we are rediscovering China. The most populous nation on the planet has the baby blues. Tens of millions of Chinese are now estimated to be infertile. So how is China, a relatively new adopter of IVF technology, coping with this problem? This week we find out.
In the 1990s, they just say, this is a test tube baby. I don't want to test tube baby. But up to now, more than 400 IVF centers in China.
This is Chongqing in China's west, home to roughly 30 million people. Despite the staggering number of residents here, some local couples dream of increasing the population by one. This is where their hopes are delivered or dashed.
There's something incredible happening in this room. The woman behind me is one of the tens of millions of Chinese people estimated to suffer from fertility problems. As a result of what you're seeing right now, there's about a 70% chance she's about to fall pregnant. This is the front line of a growing IVF industry in a nation where the family business is booming.
China is about to become the world's biggest IVF market, according to industry insiders. Some believe it already is. The IVF arm of Chongqing Public Hospital now treats about 10,000 patients every year, and this represents just a small fraction of the soaring demand across the nation. The World Health Organization says infertility will be the third most serious disease worldwide in the 21st century, beaten only by cancer and heart disease. Here in the most populous nation on the planet, there's now an estimated 40 to 50 million Chinese suffering from infertility. China delivered its first IVF baby in the mid-1980s, roughly a decade behind the West, but demand has given birth to an industry that's growing up fast.
This is Yubi Jun. In 1999, her and her husband came here to Chongqing Hospital for IVF treatment. They'd already tried IVF unsuccessfully 3 times in their home province, Guangdong. This was their last shot at having a baby. You must be feeling a bit nostalgic. What are you thinking and feeling right now?
是啊，很激动，因为快差不多10年了，我没就是快回来这里。
And 17 years ago, she gave birth to a beautiful baby boy here in Chongqing.
Bijun is retracing her footsteps to meet the woman who made her dream a reality.
叶主任，嗨，哦，好久没见，阿君。哎呦，好久不见，来坐坐坐，谢谢。
1.78米，1.78米，个子高，已经刚刚17岁了。
Guo Xian was among the first 100 IVF babies born in Western China. He's now 17 and studying in Canada. Both he and the IVF industry here have done some serious growing up.
What happened after the fertilized egg was implanted?
一直的卧床，都没有出门口都没有，除了要检查，去医院检查那些，什么地方都不去，就都不工作了。只是我现在知道我的任务就是要生小孩。
It was mission accomplished for everyone.
Does it make your job feel very worthwhile hearing stories like this about?
Yeah, I'm so happy. because my job is to make baby, make the family is happy.
Chinese couples now pay about $6,000 per IVF treatment cycle. It's a price barrier for some, but there's no shortage of customers. Chongqing Hospital's IVF clinic makes more money than any other department. Yu Bijun says it was money well spent.
What were you thinking and feeling when you finally got to hold your baby boy for the first time?
知道怀上他都哭了，就是我现在跟你分享的时候，我自己都哭了，真的，哎。
We go to the streets of Chongqing to find out what others think of IVF.
一辈子就是有一个小孩挺重要的嘛，所以觉得，我持一个特别包容的和赞赏的态度。虽然手段不一样，但他其实还是自己的孩子嘛。
有所机会的，有一点。
这边也有朋友是那种，是我准备的。他的宝宝生了，他宝宝也很健康，然后也乖。
通过某些工具啊、器具来借助，制造这个小孩子。
IVF in China may be more strange than in America or in Europe, back the cultural background.
Internationally, infertility is diagnosed when a couple are unable to fall pregnant naturally after a year of trying.
说一下你的名字。
IVF, a possible solution, sees the harvested eggs and sperm combined in a lab and the fertilized egg placed in a uterus to grow. So-called test tube babies haven't always been accepted in China.
It seems as if many people in China are embarrassed to talk about IVF, or at least embarrassed to admit they're undergoing IVF treatment. Why is that? Is it a cultural thing?
Yes, I think in the past, such as in the 1990s, most of Chinese people didn't know what is IVF. They don't know. They just say, this is a test tube baby. I don't want to test a tube baby. But up to now, most of people knows the IVF. IVF is just a technical knowledge for infertility couples to help them to get the pregnancy. Now, more than 400 IVF centers in China.
But some commentators say even 400 IVF centres isn't enough.
Chongqing has a population of about 30 million people. That's roughly 3 times the entire population of a small country like Belgium. And this is just one region of the most populous nation on the planet. By some estimates, 10 to 15% of China's population suffer from fertility problems. But just how accurate are these estimates? And how many of these people actually need or want IVF treatment?
At a new facility built to help with the overflow of IVF patients is a man who believes he has the answers. Dr. Huang Guoning says there's no truth to reports of long waiting times for treatment.
Is there any way of estimating what the infertility rate might be here in Chongqing and across the rest of China?
7、8年前，世界卫生组织跟我们重庆市卫生局有一个合作的项目，就是关于重庆市的不孕症的发生率的一个流行病学调查。这个调查出来的数据揭示了3个方面。第一个就是在乡村，乡村的这个层面上的不孕症的发生率是最低的，大约在7%左右这样的一个发生率。那么在经济最发达的地方，就是城乡结合部经济非常活跃的这个地方的不孕症的发生率是偏高的，大约超过8%以上。所以我们平均的来看的话，重庆市的不孕症的发生率在8.6%左右。
Applying for IVF in China is regulated by the government. It's only available to married couples, and the vast majority of procedures are carried out in the public health system.
We're talking about tens of millions of people, maybe 40 million, maybe 50 million people who are potentially facing fertility problems in China. Does the public health system have the ability to cope with the demand for IVF?
我们从一个数量上来看，真正超过1年、超过1万个周期的取卵周期的中心，目前在中国可能只有3家生殖中心。 有30多家中心会超过5000个周期，其他的生殖中心都在2000到3000左右。所以我个人的认为，目前这400多家应该是可以满足目前中国 IVF 病人的需求量的。
In 2001, the government implemented the management method for assisted reproductive technology. So every IVF centers must got the permission for IVF. So the IVF technology is one of the management for the government. According to the regional planning, how many IVF cycles in the city or how many patients needed the IVF treatment, the government completely master this and control this. So in my knowledge, up to now, the IVF cycles and the number of IVF centers and the patients needed to the IVF treatment is enough.
From emerging powers to expanding partnerships, from fighting poverty to combating climate change, booming economies, war-ravaged nations, and everything in between. We capture the changes affecting the most dynamic and diverse continent on the planet, taking you beyond the headlines to the people and their stories. Asia Today, delivering Asia to the world. Sports Scene, the heart and soul of sport.
There's a potential game changer in China, an increasing number of later life pregnancies.
My name is Lie Chunlian. I'm 14 and I'm a doctor.
Tell us the story about how and why you ended up going through the IVF process.
Last year I was pregnant and unfortunately I was miscarried. I want to pregnant urgently.
You're 40 years old. What made you decide to wait?
Because I was married later. Because study, work.
It's a common story everywhere, but there's one factor unique to China. The recent end of the nation's one-child policy means 90 million couples are newly eligible to have a second child, and roughly 60% of them are 35 or older, when statistically the chances of falling pregnant naturally decline dramatically. It's no wonder some IVF clinics are reporting a 50% surge in consultations, but some couples are hedging their bets.
This is the largest traditional Chinese medicine market in Chongqing, and even couples who are undergoing IVF will come here in search of remedies. From an outsider's perspective, some of what's on sale here seems truly bizarre, but many Chinese couples believe combining Eastern and Western medicine greatly improves their chances of falling pregnant.
It's flora and fauna turned medical remedy.
祛风除毒，有增强男同志的雄激素的作用。
In Chinese traditional medicine, dried centipede is thought to be particularly good for men who are suffering fertility problems, but even by Chinese standards, this is not considered appetizing. So here we go. That's not good, but I guess it speaks to just how far some people will go in China to have a baby. Do you think traditional Chinese medicine has a role to play in treating fertility problems in China? Can Western and Eastern medicine be combined to improve the chances of pregnancy?
Traditional Chinese medicine is very important in China, even on the world, because traditional Chinese medicine is exclusively features. They can treat many diseases. In the IVF area, traditional Chinese medicine compared with the IVF technology, whether can improve the IVF outcome needed to certify by strong evidence based on medicine.
Some believe TCM's 2,000-year history is proof enough.
As a foreigner, it's really hard to get my head around the possibility this sort of thing is going to help couples fall pregnant. So what sort of things would you recommend for a woman who's suffering from fertility problems?
我们一般病人用的就是一般是这个红参、补血补气啊。
It smells very pungent.
养生。
This smells a little bit more appetising. I heard that that things like tiger penis are traditionally offered to men to help them with fertility problems. Are you offering something like that here?
还有我们男同志吃的也多哈，我们平时多，这男同志吃的这是驴鞭
Donkey penis.
对，补肾虚阳痿，男同志吃了，非常好。狗鞭，
狗吗？
我们叫
在一些辅助治疗方面，中医和中药确有它自己应有的一些效果。但是目前的话，用中药来加入到 IVF 的治疗里面，我们现在还缺乏循证医学的一些依据。
This man suffers from a rare genetic disorder called Marfan's syndrome, which can be fatal. IVF ensured the disorder wasn't passed on to his unborn child. We can't show their faces because of the enduring stigma here surrounding illness and reproductive issues.
要说做这个试管婴儿的话，大概应该是2年前吧。那个时候突然之间就是我的这个眼睛出了一点问题，然后就去医院检查，大概可能是马凡氏综合征，血液运动就随时有生命的危险。知道这个基因的那个检测报告出来以后，我就想到他至少不会再重复我这样的一个人生吧，是吧？
You're 6 months pregnant. Can you tell us about the journey that you've undertaken to get to this point?
It takes me 1 year. You know, it's hard work. You have to go to the hospital every day.
How much did the process cost you?
70,000 RMB.
Now you're pregnant, 6 months pregnant.
Yes.
Do you feel like it's money well spent?
It's I think the price is reasonable.
How much revenue does the IVF department generate every year here in Chongqing?
我们是一个公立医院，在我们这里呢，其实是遵守国家的物价，这个物价是2004年的那个标准，它的价格已经有接近10几年没有变过，但是对于一个家庭来说呢，它的负担还是比较重的，所以在这个里边，我们考虑到这一些情况呢，我们尽量把它那个质量做到最好，用的那个设备都是国际上最领先的设备。
China has produced an estimated 300,000 babies total through assisted reproductive technology. By comparison, the UK, which produced its first IVF baby a full decade before China, last year clocked a milestone total of 250,000 IVF births.
In China, only married couples can legally undertake the IVF process in the public health system. This is the part of the hospital where the man does his part. Now there's a fingerprint scanning device to make sure the sperm donor is actually the husband. Cecily. This room is where the man is given a little bit of alone time to deposit a very natural ingredient in this jar that's obviously crucial to the IVF process. They've been kind enough to write my name on this jar. Sadly, I'm planning on disappointing them. Once they're done, they leave it here, press this button.
The sperm is manually combined with harvested eggs. By law here, at least one of these elements must be from the husband or wife. In laboratories all across China, science is helping couples create the miracle of new life.
我们最先提出了一个理念，就是用每一个胚胎单独住在一个房子里。这个可能比较通俗，就是说每一个培养的空间里面只放了一个胚胎，就像我们住房子一样，我们每个人住一间房，不会互相受到打扰。
On average, about 30% of IVF treatments in China successfully result in a baby being born, compared with about 50% in the US. But statistical comparisons are difficult because success rates vary according to the age of a would-be mother, and national demographics differ. What's certain is that China is making advances, and clinics like Chongqing are now averaging about a 50% success rate.
We're talking about tens of millions of people in China who potentially suffering fertility problems, but that obviously means there's an economy of scale here. How long is it until China becomes a world leader in terms of research and delivery of IVF technology?
目前在这些年来看的话，从不孕症、试管婴儿 IVF 的这样的治疗的数据来看，成功率、胚胎的着床率等等，包括并发症的发生率等等这些方面来看的话，目前和美国 CDC 颁布的数据和 ASHO 欧洲生殖医学协会颁布的这些数据来看，中国有相当多的中心已经超过了我刚刚提到的这两个机构的数据了。也就是说，中国的试管婴儿 IVF 的这些质量的话，应该在世界上的话，一部分中心已经出现一个临床上已经出现一个领先的一个地位了。
如果我们用一颗卵来受精，那么它最多就只有一个胚胎，甚至10几颗，甚至20颗的卵泡在发育。
The hospital runs a weekly public lecture. It's all about alleviating misconceptions about IVF conception.
这个是什么呢？这是卵泡啊，大家都是老师哈。
Because money makes the world go round. Global business.
Culture Express. See the world in color.
The cultural imperative to have children in China is strong. Some take advantage of this.
There's a darker side to this industry in China. Criminals who are willing to break the law and sell illegally fertilized eggs to couples desperate to have a child. Even here in the men's room of the IVF Centre in Chongqing, there are advertisements plastered all over the men's room walls advertising these sorts of services. Some of them guaranteeing couples can have a boy, some of them saying that they can have guaranteed twins.
And there's another growing option for Chinese people, if they can afford it.
Hi, Cameron.
Hi, nice to see you.
Nice to see you again.
Hi,
How are you?
Hi, great.
Good,
Yeah.
good.
This is our team.
Consultancies like this one in Beijing are doing a roaring trade sending Chinese people for IVF treatment in places like the US, where practices like surrogacy are legal. maybe surrogacy as well, something that they're interested in.
Yes,
Yep.
that's
Which,
true.
Perhaps there's in China that's not allowed at the moment.
Yes, it's not allowed in here. So, but it's a law in US, especially in US. They have over 20 years. They have the law for the surrogacy.
For younger couples,
Yeah.
the success rate is very much comparable with,
Yeah.
say, the US or other markets.
Yeah.
But so you're saying effectively that when you get into that older age bracket,
Yes, that's true.
there's a higher success rate in the US?
Yes, that's true.
You know, the Chinese doctors might disagree with you though.
Okay. I think so we have some discussion with the doctors. In China, it's also very good for most of the doctors. They have even more experience than most of the US doctors because they need to treat for over 100 patients every day.
The number of patients has given rise to a unique cottage industry near IVF clinics, accommodation for those undergoing treatment.
蛋卷是啷个说的嘛？
蛋卷是70。
70里面有啥子嘛？
啊？
里面有啥子？
有啥子啊？有电视机。
Our crew went undercover to check out the conditions in these makeshift dormitories.
那不是还是活用的吗？啊？
蛋卷儿这啥子噻？
但是我要录过其他的哈，得说那个过噻。
是哈，那个肯定那个大。
哦，那点儿也包括噻。
哎，都是噻，都是你的空位，起码差不多120个平方，我说的。
哦，那还是有点大。
是噻，我们那个哪里？
那你外面那个好不行啊？
I noticed that there are people standing outside the hospital and they're giving out cards. What are those?
Yeah, it's very interesting because our IVF patient, she needed to come to the hospital to give the IVF treatment. They need to take a long time. Some patients so need to rent some house or room or apartment for staying.
I heard that sometimes they call them pajama streets because the people they're in their hospital gowns occasionally.
IVF is an emotional and financially draining process, while the nation's IVF centres are also increasingly a place where hope and babies are being born. Demand for treatment is likely to keep rising, with so many biological clocks ticking. For China, the race is on.
Are we ready?
China, a nation with the largest population on Earth, assuming a greater role economically and politically on the world stage. Understanding China is critical for all, though difficult for some. Behind the scenes of China's transformation, I'm Robert Lawrence Kuhn. Join me to get closer to China.
That's a fundamental government.
Position on China's by leaders.
And today, I think that's the first step would be to have a dialogue,
Political change and human rights. Don't you think you change human rights?
Dialogue. Ideas matter.
Having lived and worked across Africa, Europe and North America, I'm proud to call myself a global citizen. Every story can be a business story. From large government initiatives to small startups finding ways to uplift local communities, these are the journeys that we can all connect with. That's why, as an anchor, I want to tell the business stories that matter to you.
There is no more they, or you, or me. In today's economic landscape, there is only we. An interconnected world of business, trade, and investment. Daily coverage told simply, with insight and new perspectives. Global business. We've got the world covered.